The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Welcome and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. Presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. My name is Paul Solano of the PS&All Marketing Group, and as you probably already know, I also wear another hat as General Manager of Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden. And a huge shout out to Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick and his culinary team. Chef Felipe is a loyal listener through the Odyssey app. So hello to Chef Felipe. And as always, we have lots of activity at Pearl Street Station this weekend. You, Chef Joaquin, Pizziola Muhammad are holding down the fort with my great 1209 staff of John, Jen, Nicole, and Dennis. And an honorable mention shout out to bartender Kim for listening to Paul Ponders on the Odyssey app while she is working in road sales for Tommy H on Saturdays, but sometimes working an occasional shift on a Saturday if she's available, especially after your big Friday night shift over at Pearl Street Station Restaurant. And Chef Felipe, I want to thank you for celebrating National Pasta Day yesterday, and thank you for my favorite shrimp scampioli. That shrimp scampioli you made last night was absolutely spectacular. The shrimp scampi and the 5 raviolis from Dino's Pasta, just absolutely tremendous. So if you're in the Malden area, just drop over to 53 Summer Street, Pearl Street Station, and check out the shrimp scampioli, the barbecue, and all the great culinary treats from Pearl Street Station Restaurant. Now, I cannot believe that this is show number 46, and it is an absolute honor and pleasure to be on WATD in the slot of The Boiling Point with Arthur Boyle. Arthur is out there. Shout out to Arthur. I spoke to him last week. He's doing well, and he's plugging away with our advertisers and also looking at moving us into the second year. I can't believe we're coming up on the anniversary on December 7th, and we're going to be doing some advertising specials and picking up a few more advertisers, and I want to thank our loyal advertisers and the people who are believing in the show. But the backbone of this program is definitely the man behind the glass, and that is Tim behind the glass.
Good afternoon, Paul. Backbone, geez, thank you. Maybe some of the brains. I don't know about the backbone.
Well, but you keep everything in line here over at WATD. After 25 years, you have a command on what it is and what needs to be.
No, thank you.
No, I really mean that seriously.
Within reason, though. You know, it's your show. You call the shots.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. It's a mutual admiration society and all. And I want to say that your traffic reports on the way down get me from the Malden Medford area here. I know I don't even have to bother with any navigational system. I just have to listen to your traffic reports and all.
Wow.
And just a thing you mentioned, the head of the Charles earlier when we were chatting, and the traffic over by Storer Drive, Memorial Drive is just absolutely crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big weekend.
Yes, it is. Yeah, huge weekend. I remember when Captain Lou would be covering that extensively on his Nautical Talk radio show as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Louie. We miss you very much.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think I met Captain Lou once a long time ago when I was hanging out with Coach Bill Wilhelm and Arthur when they were doing the Sports Exchange. It was years ago, probably about 20 years ago or so.
Yep, because his show would be right before the Sports Exchange. That's a very good chance you met Lou, and maybe his... what do you call him? Skipper? Anyway, his son Brad would run the board for his show. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Fond memories there. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I know you have to call our upcoming guest, so I'll let you do that. But thanks again for being behind the glass, Tim.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. And speaking about traffic, I know traffic is going to be really heavy in the Boston area today, and especially with that No Kings rally around the Boston Common Public Garden area. So try to avoid that. And just as a public service announcement, I heard on the way down that the 100th anniversary celebration of the Box Center, the Wang Box Center, is in fact reschedule to tomorrow, just to sort of clear things up on the streets and all, and just make sure that there's enough parking and enough area for the people to walk around through. So again, that wonderful celebration. Shout out to the great staff over at the Wang Center, the Bach Center. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Casey, who is the new director. He took Joe Spalding's place, and congratulations again to Joe Spalding. I worked with him in a direct and indirect capacity through the years in my world of food and beverage and venue management in Boston, and just a true gentleman and a great operation. So Casey's doing a great job with his staff, with Mike C. and Eric Neal and the rest of the crew over there. So shout out to them and happy anniversary, 100 years. And just stay out of Boston, okay? Well, at this point of the presentation, we have the Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Toolbox segment with Techie Talonzo Amos and typically Shelley Wolf, global media firm owner of Toolbox Entertainment, vice president of technology literacy of Pod Pro Entertainment, and a past Paul Ponders guest, episode number 35. While Shelley had a yen to go to Japan and Hong Kong for a month or so, she'll be back hopefully next week. We'll have her on the line. We'll hear all about her great travels. But I do have on the line a longtime friend and fellow Paul Ponders podcaster through Pod Pro Entertainment PPE, and his name is Mr. David D'Arcangelo of Save As Ability. David, you're on the line?
Paul, good afternoon. How are you?
I am doing well, my friend. Great to hear your voice. I haven't seen you in a while, but I do listen to your podcasts all the time. And congratulations on number 100, which I think dropped on Wednesday. Congratulations, my friend.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's it takes time to do that many episodes. I think we've been at it around 2 years. I don't think we've missed many weeks out of 2 years. So, because you do it. So it takes dedication and it takes a good team. And Pod Pro Entertainment is that team for me.
Without a doubt. And Techie Talonzo Amos just does a tremendous job. He was on last week with us in this segment sponsored by Pod Pro Entertainment. And Techie Talonzo is telling our listeners all about what it entails. And it really is a great avenue. Platform, if you will, to get the message out.
Yeah, I think so. And that's today's technology, right? I mean, years ago, it used to be you did it through letters or you did it through the newspaper or maybe a magazine article, and now it's all online. So whether it's an audio cast or a video cast or a combination, that's what we do. We put ours out both on Spotify and Apple iTunes, but we also put it out on YouTube, the video as well. And so it's both a vlogcast and a podcast.
Without a doubt. Now, the thrust and the focus of your podcast, your awesome podcast, and again, the name of the podcast is Save As Ability, is all about disability employment solutions. So why don't you let our listeners in Paul Ponders land know what your podcast is all about?
Sure. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, Save As Ability is a program dedicated to disability inclusion, and we tend to focus on disability employment because I happen to believe that employment is one of the keys to being as independent and self-determined as possible. And that's probably out of our 100 episodes, we've spent probably 75 of them specifically on disability employment. But there's other intersections as well with all the other things it takes to be supportive of people with disabilities so that they can have what they need to be successful. And like we did just one recently on the ABLE Act, right? That might not be directly related to employment, but it's definitely part of the whole situation for people with disabilities, because if you're not able to save without jeopardizing your benefits, well, then how are you ever going to be able to, save up to take the course that you need to be prepared for that employment, or, buy the suit for the interview, whatever the case may be? You really need all kinds of other topics topics as well that we've touched upon. So whether it be, saving for through the ABLE Act, or we've done things on transportation, which traditionally has been a barrier to employment for many. So we try to be varied, but keep a little bit of a focus on disability employment specifically.
Interesting, very interesting. And you've actually been on many sides of the equation, if you will, and I believe that you were involved, you were a director of the Mass Commission for the Blind?
Yes, I was commissioner of the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, and I'm so pleased to have worked with great people like John Shea and all the people at the Talking Information Center down there. And Ed Perry is a great American. He really is. I mean, this guy has, he's the American dream. And, I've been down there, been able to spend some time with him. And I think I got a picture of me, him, and Elvis. I think is that Elvis still hanging around?
Yes, he is. He hasn't left the building.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's not left the building. And Ed's just a great guy to be able to support Talking Information Center. That's so important to everybody on the South Coast down the Marshfield area. So, yeah, I mean, I think WATD does a great job at Talking Information Center. So I was commissioner of Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. Prior to that, I was director of the Massachusetts Office on Disability. I've also been a presidential appointee where I was on the National Council on Disability. And I currently serve on the board of directors of the National Industries for the Blind. I'm legally blind myself, and there's been periods in my life where I've been totally blind and had my vision restored. So improving the human condition is my mission in life, and I try to do that through my business and through Say Visibility, which is, an offshoot of my business to try to get the message out there to large organizations about disability inclusion.
I see. That's absolutely fascinating. And I've known you for many, many years, and I know that you've even worked at the State House as a legislative aide.
Yeah. I was in the State House for, I think, a total of 6 years between I started working for Governor Cellucci, then Governor Swift, then briefly Governor Romney, and then into the State Senate, where I worked for Richard Tassay, who was the state senator from my home district up in our area, Paul Malden, and that area. So, and then I went into a state agency and then went into the private sector, but then came back to public service when I ran for city councilor at large and won that, and then ran statewide. And that was my first visit to WATD, actually, down there, when I ran for Secretary of State in 2014. So, yeah, I've been in government and public service pretty much my whole career, and service above self, as we used to say in Rotary.
Without a doubt, and we'll chat about that later on, about what it's all about service above self. But regarding the podcast, do you tend to do solo podcasts, or do you have guests on your show, on your programs?
We have a mix. I've done probably around 60 of the 100 episodes I've done solo, and then 40 guests. And so we kind of vary and alternate. And some episodes are like 2-part episodes. I try to run each episode as a segment. This isn't Joe Rogan, and where we're doing 3 hours at a time. Say Visibility is purposely pithy and succinct. So some of our episodes are as short as 8 minutes. Some of them maybe go to like 14 minutes or so, but they're all really around that 10 to 12 minute range. We treat it as a segment and really try to focus in on one particular issue and stay focused on that one issue throughout the whole podcast.
Well, Techie Talonzo is always talking about that sweet 25 when we do our podcasts, but over the past couple of podcasts that we've recorded, we're looking at the trends in the market, and we're seeing that, okay, maybe it's the sweet 15 now, the sweet 12 or the sweet 15. And Techie Talonzo had alluded to the fact that you were right at that sweet 12 to 15 minute point.
Yeah, I think it's to each his own, right? And the topic. Some topics don't support, talking 40 minutes about one specific thing or longer. You know what I mean? And some, quite frankly, 8 or 10 minutes isn't enough, so you need a little bit more time. So we'll do a 2-part episode. So it varies, and I think different topics lend themselves to different times also. like when you're talking about like some of the major podcasts, whether it be, again, Joe Rogan or, like those types of big, and I'm not comparing Save's ability to those, but those types of formats, they're able to do that because they're covering a wide array of issues, and they've got people that are on staff there being paid to do the research, and, they got teleprompters and they got multiple producers and everything. For Save's ability, it's just Talanzo and me, and, and a guest if we have it. So, I think that's part of the difference. So I would say to each his own. For us, the 10 minutes has worked out. We do have quite a few subscribers. I think we're right at around 2,000 subscribers, and we're trying to get that illustrious watch hours to be able to go to the next level. That's really the challenge there. But, we don't do it for any other reason. Like, we're not doing it to monetize. I'm doing it to get the message out about disability inclusion and providing access to opportunities for people with disabilities. That's the reason why we do Save Disability.
And that's why you've just been an incredible advocate, really, for the disability community and underserved populations. And I applaud you for all the work that you have done through the years.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul. Thank you. It's a topic that many people don't want to address directly, I think, because they either don't know about it and are a little intimidated about it, or, quite frankly, they're fearful of it. But disability is one of those things that can occur to anybody at any time. And so it is challenging, but, we try to bring data-driven information out there for people so that they can be informed, so that if and when it happens, they can have, information to be able to make them as independent and self-determined as possible.
Without a doubt. And I would be absolutely, totally remiss if I did not mention the fact that here at ATD on Tuesday nights, we have a show called Breaking the Ice, Let's Talk Inclusion, hosted by Coach Steve Nairns and Holly. And it's a great show. And it's on 6:15 to 7 o'clock. So have you ever heard of this show?
Give him my number. I'd love to talk to him about it. With all that's happened recently with DEI, how it's become a third rail, the sober members of the inclusion and the non-discrimination community, right, never really, I don't want to say bought into DEI, but always kind of recognize that, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Like, you're taking a very serious subject that should be non-political, and you're making it this political thing. So the fact that now it's being reformed and rebranded in a way, I think is good, and I think will help in the long run, because these issues are serious, and they shouldn't be any type of ideology or, even party affiliation. I mean, this is something that impacts millions of Americans and a large percentage of our population. And, we need to sit down and discuss these things rationally and, try to improve the human condition is the goal.
Absolutely. I recall listening to, and I think it was episode 96, about inclusive sports for every ability. And I know that Coach Steve and Holly are quite involved with the hockey. I believe it's called the Great Blizz. And Tim, help me out on this. Is it the Great Blizz, the hockey?
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's really, really quite a thing. And I had met Coach Steve over at, the Ruzioni Center over in Winthrop for a Bruins alumni game. He had a booth over there and was really spreading the word. And it's really quite a program. But David, in your episode, I believe 96, you talked about the inclusive sports for every ability.
Yeah, sled hockey is one of the amazing things. If you like hockey and you haven't caught a sled hockey game, really you should, because it's quite a sport and it stands on its own. It really does. So, one of the dynamics that I thought was interesting when I went to see my first sled hockey game when I was director of the Office on Disability was, you had many of the individuals had played hockey previously and then have come upon a spinal injury or, some type of mobility where now they're in a power chair and, so they want to continue their hockey career. So they go to sled hockey. And one of the things that I found interesting was they actually had some hockey players that didn't have any mobility issues who wanted to play sled hockey. So they gave them an opportunity, and they just couldn't hang with the people who, were not as mobile walking-wise, but once you put them on the sled, they're skating around unbelievably. So I thought that was interesting. I've seen similar dynamics when it comes to like wheelchair basketball, beat ball. I've seen types of things where, baseball players, all of a sudden they put on the blindfold and they try to play beat ball and they can't do it. And it's just, so people with disabilities have ability and they have talent. And so, I think that's like a little bit of what we're trying to do with Save Disability is break down those barriers and demonstrate to people that you can't have a disability without first having ability. So what do you choose to focus on? Well, we choose to focus on ability, not what you can't do, but what you can do.
And that's why you have a very successful podcast, number 100 this past week with Save As Ability. Now, we have so much to talk about. Do you mind if I hold you over for another segment? Are you all right with that?
Sure.
David?
Sure. You got to do the commercials.
Absolutely. Well, as Arthur Boyle, our executive producer consultant, says, it's not time to make the donuts. It's time to pay some bills. So let's hear from our sponsors.
Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Maniquisett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you. Have you tried Bryantville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were three deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD, presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. The call-in number is 781-837-4900, and you could also find us on the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. And if you like my daughter Ann in California, who was actually just recently visiting with her wife Sarah, we had a great visit over the past week and a half, and Ann was saying, boy, that Odyssey app is really incredible. It's really, really cool. But I do tune in. I do listen to you from California. So shout out to my daughter, Ann. And also shout out to all those nonprofits out there. You could reach me at paul@paulponders.com. And I actually met Nicole and Matt from a nonprofit in Dedham, I believe. I met them at the restaurant, Pearl Street Station Restaurant, yesterday, and we had a nice chat. And they'll be on the show in the future, just letting us know about what they do out in Dedham with the name of the organization. I believe it is Springboard off the top of my head. So it was great speaking to them and any other nonprofits in the South Shore, Cape and the Island area. Anyone within our listening range, please reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com. Now, listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders and WATD shows. My next Paul Ponders podcast is dropping tomorrow night at midnight and features Coach Al Finaro, the head football coach at Xaverian Brothers High School. And congratulations on your very exciting win last night against Catholic Memorial. And here's a really ironic twist on this. So Coach Al Finaro just recently received the induction. He was just inducted into the National Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame, Massachusetts chapter, last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we had the event up in Malden. And receiving the award, someone who's already in the NIASH Hall of Fame, Coach John DiBiase, who he faced off against last night, Coach Dibbs. He received the special award, the Tony the Champ DeMarco Spirit and Achievement Award. It was really great. Here they were having a great lunch at Anthony's in Malden, and then on the football field last night for one of the most exciting football games this season, and probably in recent memory, went back and forth. So congratulations to Xaverian for winning on that last minute field goal. And I hear that Drake May was in attendance. He was on the sidelines. So that's pretty cool when you get the attention of the local star quarterback of the Patriots. So that's pretty cool. So tune into Coach Al Finaro. It's a great podcast, and he talks all about his coaching career, his illustrious career at Xaverian and living up to the Xaverian Brothers ideal. So you may want to check that out at midnight. And it's a really great podcast. Now, at this point of the program, we have the community outreach segment sponsored by PS&L Marketing Group and the mortgage originators from Riverworks Credit Union. And we have on the line our PPE guest, David D'Arcangelo of Save As Ability, on the line. So, David, welcome back, and thanks for waiting.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be back with you.
Absolutely. So we covered a lot of bases on what you've been doing in your career. You work in government, you work with the nonprofit world, and just the podcasting, and you're very entrepreneurial. Okay, so I want to hear about this button business that you have, in fact, established.
Sure. So, my main business is Archangel Communications, and what grew out of that was Angel Buttons. So we had been providing buttons as a result of our public relations services that we were delivering for, doing marketing campaigns and things like that. But it was like an ancillary thing. But then we started getting really positive feedback on the buttons that we were making, and we started getting specific requests for that. So I built a website. Next thing I know, we had sales on the website. Then I got onto Walmart Marketplace. We started getting sales from there. Then the Walmart executive called and said, hey, you should enter our open call competition. And we did, and we won, and we got a golden ticket. And Walmart said, we want to buy buttons from you. We want them in stores. So next thing you know, we were down the tracks on setting up our button business. And now it's its own LLC. It's Angel Buttons LLC. So you can go to angelbuttons.com to find out more. And we do buttons for all different occasions. We do them for corporate events. We do them for nonprofit events. We do them for birthdays. We do them for, really anybody who comes calling. No job too big or too small. We just did a 2,000 button job this past week. And we've done a couple of dozen button jobs this past week. So, that we run the gamut, and we have all different types of shapes and sizes and back styles and, custom designs, stock designs, your design, doesn't matter. But we have fun with it. And my daughter, Isabella, who is a person with a very significant developmental disability, really likes making buttons. So, we want to be as industrious as we can to keep her making buttons and keep her busy. She's always asking me for more button jobs.
Wow. That is great. I remember when Isabella was born, and I cannot believe that she's out there just really running the business, if you will, right? With you.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't think she's ready for competitive integrated employment anytime soon. However, what we're doing is on-the-job training. And if anybody's interested, just type into your browser #a We're on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube with our videos. And they're 8 to 10 seconds, and they're very short and pithy, positive messages that we do every day. And we usually alternate, me and Isabella, doing messages. And again, #a You got to check it out.
I am writing that down right now. #a button a day, right?
All one word. #a button a day.
That's great. So what are some of those powerful messages you send out?
Love wins. Yesterday's was the best deal. Sometimes we do one word like, triumph or, truth prevails. All positive messages. Some from scripture, some just good old non-fancy, kind of good wisdom that we search out to put out there to, again, improve the human condition. So our goal is to put out positive, pithy messages that bring joy. Really, angel buttons bring joy.
Without a doubt. Now, on the other side, on your volunteerism and all, you are a past president, I believe two terms of the Malden Rotary Club, and very actively involved in Rotary work. And the motto there is service above self.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate to be involved with Rotary, and, we were brothers in arms there, Paul. And, I was president for 1 year, and it's great. One of the things that I think is impacting America right now that's really not being talked about, that, I've had an episode of Save Visibility about, we have a future episode coming out, is about how we're changing the nature of America from a service point of view. If you look back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, think of the service organizations that used to meet on a daily, weekly basis, whether it was the Knights of Columbus or Rotary or Kiwanis or, all of those types of service organizations. Some of them used to have hundreds of members per community. Now, many communities don't even have an organization. So, I think that's an untalked about thing that really, because that was like the fabric of America, or part of the fabric of America. And now it's diminished significantly with these service organizations and these fraternal type of organizations. So everybody's into their devices, and, society's changed. And I really do think we need to make an effort to try to bring those things back, because they were really part of building strong communities.
Without a doubt. And I always remember, because our terms of service, we're very close to each other and collaborating with you, really trying to grow the membership committee. And this is with the Rotary, and we've talked about the mnemonics and acronyms and all that good stuff. And I remember, this is off the top of my head, I haven't thought of this in a while, I'm sorry to say, but I remember the Rotary, I think it was reaching out to all, recruiting you, ROTARY. And it was a way of just going out into the community to find people who, had that time, talent, and treasure, that wealth, wisdom, and wherewithal, who really wanted to get involved in the community, and they wanted to give back.
Right. Service above self. And, it's one thing to donate, which is, can help and is good. And I'm not trying to, dissuade anybody from donating to good organizations. But when you have a service project like Rotary used to do, or, Zonta and these other fraternal organizations that we're talking about, that really matters also, right? Because you're not only giving up your money, but you're giving up your time and your efforts and your talents. Like, that really then goes to strengthen the community. rather than just writing the check. Or I shouldn't say just writing the check to diminish it, but I mean, it really does impact the community even more so when people are out there doing the service project. So I think we need to try to bring that back in some way.
Without a doubt. Well, together we can all make a difference. Working together, we can all make a difference, and we'll make it happen. But David D'Arcangelo, Save As Ability, dear friend, thank you for being on these two segments of Paul Ponders, and love to have you on again in the near future as part of the Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Talonzo segment.
Well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate you and what you're doing, and you're a positive person, too. I value that. Please give my regrets to Ed, the rest of the team down there. And, yeah, hope to be on sometime soon.
It would be fabulous. And how do our listeners contact you if they want to check out your podcast?
Sure. You can go to saveasability.com, where that lists all of the links to our Spotify and Apple iTunes and YouTube, or you can just go search on those platforms as well for Save As Ability, or the hashtag A Button a Day, any of those types of things, you can find it.
Absolutely fabulous. David D'Arcangelo, I thank you for being on.
All right, Paul. Great to be on. Thank you, my friend.
Yep.
Have a great day to you and everybody out there.
You as well. Thanks so much. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Well, let's hear from our sponsors. We have a call on the line. We'll get to Sue Bollinger very shortly.
Have you tried Brian Phil Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857. Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakisset Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were three deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD, where the call-in number is 781-837-4900. And on the line, I'm going to bring on Ms. Sue Bollinger from Boston Connect Real Estate, a past guest of Paul Ponders through our dear friend, Pembroke School Committee man David Boyle. Sue is a local Pembroke activist and involved with a very special initiative on the special election this week. Sue.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. I'm well, thanks.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's great to have you on, and thank you for taking time before your open house at 1 o'clock. But it's great to have you back on and just to talk about what's happening with the election coming up and the special initiative that you spoke to me about a few weeks ago.
Absolutely. So if anybody is from Pembroke, they probably know that we're about to discuss at our town meeting on Tuesday, the 21st, the initiative to bring VOTEC to Pembroke. It's an initiative to join South Shore Technical in Hanover, which is we would be 9th or 10th member town. I think it's the 9th, or we'd be the 10th member town if we were to accept. And so I think what we discussed the last time was, that it's sort of a 3-part process. And the first part is to go to town meeting and just decide, yes, we want to join. We want to give this opportunity to our kids. And then the next part after that is in the spring, we need the other 9 member towns to vote us in. We need 6 of the 9 members to actually vote and want us to join the regional district. And then if that happens, then in the spring, we would vote on the financial piece, which is the debt override for the new building, as well as the operational override to fund the kids going to the school. And we have to have put the stabilization fund back to normal, so to speak. So, we have to not national back to. We have to put on our share of the stabilization fund. We have to fund the transportation piece. We have to fund, some of the other pieces that are along that. So, but this Tuesday at the Pembroke High School at 7 p.m., we're inviting all Pembroke residents to come weigh in on whether or not they want us to join South Shore Technical.
I see. Yeah. So how do you feel about the vote and how it's going to go?
Well, you know what? It's hard to say. There's some fors and there's some against. So the people who are for it, they don't care what the cost. They just want to see, success and get their kids into the VOTEC program. And the people who are against are concerned primarily with the cost, which at this point we're thinking is an estimate of about $450 per household for a house that is what the average price in Pembroke is $601,000 according to the assessor. So that would be sort of the price point that you would base it on. We don't know the exact cost yet because they're still getting estimates on the new building, and we really won't know until January what the actual cost is. It could be much lower, it could be slightly higher, but this is a good estimate, and we can't work with real numbers until then. And so that's why that vote in the spring is so important, because if it comes back that, wow, it's really, really expensive and, it's not 450 households, then, perhaps we need to rethink this. Maybe. I don't know. I think that's the no argument. But there's other people who are like, well, I don't care if it costs $2,000 a month, $2,000 a year more. We want in. So really that's the crux of the situation.
Fabulous. Well, one more shout out to when that meeting is being held.
So that's going to be on Tuesday, October 21st at the Pembroke High School auditorium. And we want as many town residents there as possible to weigh in. This is a very important decision the town's making, and we hope everyone can make it.
Absolutely fabulous. And I promise you 6 minutes, because you have to prep for that open house. If you want to give the address of the open house you're at, you get a free plug.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, so I have a beautiful home in a quiet dead-end neighborhood in Brockton, 30 Oscar Ave, and I'm here until 3 o'clock. It's on for $425,000, and it's a beautiful front-to-back split, price to sell, and I'm going to be here till 3. There's actually a line of people waiting to come in, and I haven't opened the door yet because I'm talking to you.
Well, that is fabulous. Well, I won't hold you up, Sue Bollinger. Right. Pembroke town activist, dear friend of Chairperson Dave Boyle, and
I would say, just to back up, I'm actually on the school committee, so definitely not an activist.
Oh, okay.
However,
I did not know
I'm
that.
on the school committee with Dave. Yes.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
So that's why I have so much information on it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
But activist isn't necessarily a bad word.
Not at all. Not at all. And it's part of that Rotary thing, service above self, and you do it quite well.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you so much
Sue.
for the shout out.
You're welcome.
Thank
you. You as well. Thanks, Sue. Good luck on Tuesday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And on the line, we have a dear friend from Gotham Wheel, fellow board member, Paul C. Swerter on the line. Paul, are you on the line?
Yes, sir, Paul. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, thank you. Thanks for being on the line. And we were chatting the other day that you were down in the Plymouth area at some sort of art show, and you were just absolutely blown away.
I actually was. That's it's all about whales, art, seals. I was driving down in Plymouth in the wee hours of the morning, somewhere around 5:30 in the morning, and I looked to my right and I saw a statue of a seal. And as you know, I'm very fond of seals. Had a seal in my bathtub at age 10, and my dad wrote a children's book about it just prior to losing his battle with pancreatic cancer. So the blessing is we were able to capture these stories on some of Paul Ponders and the Scituate sea monster and the seal in the bathtub, and very excited to see Plymouth Chamber of Commerce. And actually, I'm up here in Rockport, Massachusetts as well, and the Chamber of Commerce is doing a Harvest Fest up here. So it's nice to see these communities coming together and just getting behind art. And a little bit more about my experience down in Plymouth. I saw these seals, and then they just started popping up throughout the whole trip around downtown Plymouth. Good, 15 to 20 is what I saw. And then I got to meet some of the artists the next day. And I met up with a woman who runs a art studio down there at Art on the Spot. They did Finnegan, the seal. And it's a real great way to bring the community together.
That's a great story, and it's so ironic based on past discussion that we've had about the rolling out and the book signing of Seal in the Bathtub. So if you just want to let our listeners in Paul Ponders Land know what's coming down the pipe with this book.
So the Seal in the Bathtub, as I just mentioned, is a true-to-life story that happened right there in Malden, Massachusetts. We had I don't want to call it a pet, but we were taking care of a seal in our bathtub and caring for it in its infancy when it was stranded. And back then there were no places to take it for strandings. So some people took it to the aquarium where my dad worked, and we cared for this animal, and we wrote a little story about it to bring awareness of how we interact with animals. And, as you know, with my dad's career, brought him to New York and then founded Gotham Whales. So it all starts with seals and ends with whales.
And it meets the seal of approval, I guess, if you will.
Yes, there's plenty of fun with seals. And, going back to the experience at Plymouth this past week, it just really brought things full circle with all these seals popping up, and I attribute that to a sign from above. And I've been listening to Jim Bauer's Funny How God Works, and it's amazing how these stories just pop up, and you just can't write them. Only God can.
Absolutely, without a doubt on that, my friend. So, do you have any scheduled date coming up for the book?
Not as of yet. Right now, we're putting the finishing touches on it, hoping to get it out by Christmas. Stay tuned. We are just, like I said, the finishing stages. Our illustrator, Joy Reidenberg, is putting the finishing touches on her artwork, and Best Publishing is putting this together, and we're hoping to unleash it sometime right before Christmas.
That's fabulous. Well, you might as well, in the same doing, you might as well give a shout out to the other books your dad wrote.
Yeah, so the other book that we modeled this book on is Big Whale, Big City. And Big Whale, Big City is a story of how a whale came up from the Dominican Republic and took a left turn into New York to find out the cuisine, and the mother showed the whale how to eat and different aspects of learning what whales do when they make their journey up to Stellwagen Bay.
Interesting. And your dad also published another book, which occurred right before he passed away.
Yeah, so that's another near and dear story where Dad put a lot of his, workings throughout his career into a book that models after Moby Dick and chasing the whales as a scientist, or finding out what whales are doing. So it's true to life with what he did, and he calls it Stranded, and it's basically his life experience intertwines with his theory on why whales strand themselves.
Very interesting. Well, how do our listeners in Paul Ponders Land reach out to you if they want to get the book, or if they want to, in fact, get involved with Gotham Whale and any other projects?
Well, that's a great question. I'd like to just let people know they could reach us at gothamwhale.org, or me personally at Paul_J@gothamwhale.org. And again, want to give a real shout out to the art community and bringing a lot of things to the coastal waters of awareness of what our oceans are doing.
That is fabulous. That's fabulous. Well, PJ, I want to thank you for being on today and look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks for taking time from the shore of Rockport up there. You're at, I believe, some sort of showing today, a movie about whales?
A movie, yeah. So this is another, aspect of, films bringing awareness to what's going on. I was up here a couple weeks ago for The Last Dive, which was a story about a gentleman who had an association with the manta ray, and, a movie from Kobe Sheehy, The Last Dive, and I'm up here today to see The Last of the Right Whale.
That's
so,
fabulous.
Film and art is something that's really near and dear to us.
That's fabulous. And I hope Matt from Pembroke is listening, and I'll, Matt, love to hear from you soon. And PJ, I want to thank you for being on, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
All right. God bless.
God bless. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Okay. Well, I invite our listeners to stay tuned to WATD for the Memories with Ron Dwyer, the grand poobah of oldies rock and roll. Ron, you are a true leader of the pack with great musical memories of yesteryear. So thank you, Ron. Listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders and WATD shows. Thanks again to Tim, Arthur, David, Sue, PJ, and our advertisers. But really, thank you, listeners, to WATD World and beyond. Keep Paul pondering. #Indeed.